We are going to go ahead and get started. Um, Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Just as a reminder, I am recording this just so that we can share with our couldn't be here today. Um, and without further ado, I thank Greg Napier with Legal Aid of the Bluegrass for taking time to share with us today information about the services that legal aid provides and how they might be able to help families. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Napier.
Hello, everybody. I am the Family Law Unit Manager with Legal Aid of the Bluegrass, and I'm out of the Moorhead office. Uh, we cover, though, 33 counties, including Fayette County, which is our largest county. And I am most knowledgeable, as the name implies, with the family law aspect of the things we cover. So I'm actually going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to pull up our website to make sure I hit on all of the various areas of law that we assist in. Before I do that, we basically there's two levels, I would say, of eligibility. And the most basic eligibility level for most of the programs is to be 200% or less of the federal poverty level for a household. Now, there's lots of exceptions to that, and the different units, different kinds of cases have some variation. For example, with protection and safety, those limits do not apply in domestic violence petition cases, but that's the general rule, 200% of the poverty level and below, and there are some exceptions, case by case exceptions that we can help with as well. I'm assuming everybody can now see. This is from our website. The areas that I'm most familiar with are over here: protection and safety. That includes domestic violence petitions, emergency protective orders that families may file if there's domestic violence going on in the house. It also includes interpersonal protective orders. And interpersonal protective orders are available for dating relationships. They also cover non-dating relationships where there's been a sexual assault, and non-dating relationships where there has stalking. And the way I say that makes it sound like those are exclusive. So dating relationship, any kind of violence, stalking, but it also people who are experiencing stalking in a non-dating relationship can seek an interpersonal protective order. We assist the petitioners, the persons who are the victims of the violence or the stalking or assault uh, with those cases. Um, and then we also have the family category, and family category covers divorce cases. It covers custody matters, timeshare matters, sometimes child support, although usually that's picked up by the county attorney's office. Um, there are some other grandparent situations that falls into the custody matter. We've got a lot of grandparents who are raising the grandchildren, and so there are a lot of custody and timeshare issues that come up in that. We typically do not get involved in dependency, neglect, and abuse cases. Not that we can't, it's just that the state statute already provides for court-appointed attorneys and funding for that. So that kind of brings up the second level of eligibility. Even if somebody is financially eligible, The need is so great out there. The demand for services is so great that we have to also prioritize kind of a triage method of looking at cases. And for example, with family law cases, if our attorneys' caseloads are really bulging, then we can only assist with divorce or custody matters where there is an active risk of physical harm to the children or the parent. We help with housing, evictions, public housing, as well as private landlord tenant. We obviously are always on the side of the tenant in those cases. We have a whole program, a whole unit that focuses on government benefits, Social Security, SNAP benefits, KTAP, Medicaid, unemployment, appealing those decisions where we feel like the wrong decision has been made. Money and debt, we help with bankruptcies, sometimes with individual collection cases, but usually those fall into a bankruptcy. Usually people don't have problems with just a single debt. It's usually much broader. We have a couple of attorneys who specialize in immigration, U visa and T visa, and I know just enough about immigration to be really dangerous. So bottom line is the people that we assist with immigration have been the victim of some sort of crime, typically some kind of violent crime that can include domestic violence situations. We help with criminal expungements, and the primary reason for that is because often your criminal record is a barrier to families gaining self-sufficiency. And we have helped hundreds of people just in the last couple of years. Well, we're probably approaching thousands at this point, getting records expunged. We also assist with, now this life planning documents typically are for our Title III recipients, which are folks who are considered elderly. We assist with Medicaid, and we also have a nursing home ombudsman that is on staff with us to help with complaints and concerns in nursing homes. Let's see if I can unshare this now. Does anybody know how to unshare? Ah, there's a button that says stop sharing. How about that? Um, so we go through an intake process. People call into our primary line. It's the same number for all 33 counties. That number, and I'll actually put it in the chat right now. That is 859-431-8200. And the first person that people speak with is an intake specialist. Some of them are paralegals, some of them are non-paralegal, but they're trained as intake specialists, and they get the background information, just the basics, what kind of case their person's calling about, financial eligibility, household, and then they are helped over to an intake attorney who is able to dive in a little bit deeper. The other thing I would want to say is anybody who is eligible does receive some level of service provision. And what I mean by that is, as I explained, the demand is so great and we can only afford to hire so many attorneys. So when we're at that capacity point, some people will get what we refer to as counsel and advice. And that means that an attorney, a live attorney will talk with them, will take a look at documents, will take a look at their case, and they will provide counsel about their case, best steps, how to go about it. A step up from that we refer to as brief services. And brief services, we're still not entering appearance in the courtroom, but we may be providing a customized motion template or petition to help them take the next step on their own. And then the final level of service is what we refer to as extended representation, and that's where we actually get involved in the case. I know that these service provision levels have led to quite a bit of confusion sometimes amongst community partners, because community partners will send somebody to us, they'll qualify financially, and then perhaps the client doesn't feel like they got what they were expecting. And so it's important to kind of explain that we can't provide in-court representation for everybody. We do have to kind of take a triage approach to that. But if somebody qualifies financially, and their case is the kind of case that we help with, for example, we don't help with criminal cases. The only reason we do expungements is because that helps with financial stability, but we don't defend criminal cases. As long as they're within those kinds of cases, we will help them to the extent we're able to help them. They may feel like they needed to have an attorney assigned to them. Unfortunately, we just can't do that every time. That's a real broad overview. We have offices in Covington, Lexington, Moorhead, Ashland, and we just opened a satellite site up in Maysville. So we have, I can't remember how many attorneys we have. I want to say we have 19 attorneys total that are covering all those counties. And most of our attorneys they cover multiple disciplines. So they may do housing and family, benefits. We have 2 attorneys that specialize in immigration. I believe I covered that. Trying to think of anything else. I feel like that's kind of the synopsis of everything. I'd be glad to take questions.
Anybody have any questions? You can unmute or type them in the chat. Carmen?
Okay, so I had a parent that left me a message yesterday. She's not from school, but she knows that I help people. I really didn't know what to do with her situation. But the thing was that she paid a man who supposedly fixed AC unit. And I think she got scammed as she talked to me. And I was like so heartbroken because she said, I'm a single mom. I got 3 kids. I am the owner of this mobile home. And her unit was very, very hot. Her little boy almost fainted of heat. So a friend of a friend told her, oh, I know this person, but I think he's a scammer. So he took her, he was asking for $750. And she said, but I'm poor, I don't have money. It got down to $700. And she only has a first name. And I said, oh my gosh, I think you lost your money, you know? But the thing is, she knows that this man is married to a woman. And I guess that couple are co-owners of 2 restaurants here in Lexington. So I did like a little bit of police work, you know, and I spoke with the first thing I did was give her y'all's number because I
Okay.
didn't know where she fit, but I said, this is a scammer, and he lives here and he's doing this. The thing is that he said, wait 24 hours, don't play with the thermostat, but the thing, it is hot, it's not working, and he's not answering her calls.
Yeah.
I went upstairs, we have a policeman in the house, and he said to make a police report.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So if they called us, we probably would not take a case like that
yeah.
directly. That is essentially you're right, it's probably a scam, or benefit of the doubt, it's a breach of contract. And so we would refer those out. If somebody like that called us, we would certainly tell them that they could file a police report, probably give them detailed steps on how to go about filing a police report, because sometimes just saying file a police report and people don't know where to go. It's like, well, okay, how do you do that? The Attorney General's office also has a unit, and so we would be referring them to the Attorney General's office because they have a unit that focuses in on scams like that, and they have the resources to go after. They, if they get multiple reports about the same person, they certainly take notice and have the resources to go after them.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you tell us exactly what the eviction process is here in Lexington?
I will give you the very bare bones because I don't practice in evictions. But I can tell you, and I'm looking off screen because I'm going to pull this up. I can tell you that Lexington is part of the ultra. It's a more strict code regarding evictions, and I can tell you that our unit here in Lexington that handles evictions are very successful and have won some appeals that have actually shaped the law around evictions. And the most basic notice is a 7-day written notice, and it has to have certain bells and whistles hit in it. I'm trying to pull that up. I may not be able to do that quick enough to give you a good answer on that. Probably the best thing for me to do is get one of our eviction staff, because I'm struggling to multitask here and pull up the statute at the same time. There's a 30-day notice that's still in effect that did not sunset with the CARES Act. And so there's a 30-day notice for certain persons that is still in effect. I don't think that applies to private landlords. I think that only applies to landlords that accept any amount of federal funding. And so there was a part of the CARES Act that required a 30-day notice, and much of the CARES Act sunsetted, but that part didn't. And that's actually one of the appeals that we recently won. So anyone receiving, and as I'm talking about it, more is coming to mind. I'm sorry. Part of that is also, even if the landlord doesn't receive like housing funds from HUD, if their property is covered by a loan that is federally subsidized, they also are required to comply with that. That notice requirement that's in the CARES Act, which is the more stringent requirement, the 30-day requirement. beyond that, I would really have to connect you with one of our evictions attorney who they live and breathe that stuff. They can just roll it off, and I can't. I'm sorry. If you ask me about domestic violence, I can tell you, but
Oh, no worries. If there's I guess the guidance on that, if you can send that to Rainey so she can send it all out to us, that'd be great.
I will do that. Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
All right, thank you so much.
Other question?
Do you do referrals? I don't know if you can hear me.
You asked me if I do referrals.
Yes, for families that are struggling with immigration status.
So we if they don't fall into the U visa or T visa immigration stuff, and that those are victims of crime, um, victims of violence, uh, seeking asylum, that kind of thing. And the violence doesn't have to have occurred outside of the bounds of the US. It can be violence that occurred here. If they don't fall into the U visa or T visa categories, we certainly can try to connect them up with other resources. I know we work really closely with the Kentucky Refugee Ministries in the Fayette County area, and they are an excellent resource to help people get connected with other attorneys and other resources.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I see a question in the chat from David.
Oh, okay.
And if it's a family that we work with at school, do we need to make a referral or just pass along your phone number?
Well, we can do it either way. Ultimately, the information that we'll have to get, we'll have to get directly from the family. I can tell you, at least in terms, I can only speak for how I manage the family law part, the domestic violence and family law, but I suspect any of our managers are open to reaching out and saying, hey, we referred this family. Can I, check and see what's happened there? We can't give out confidential information, but I can certainly, I certainly feel comfortable sharing with people, hey, yeah, we got the call and this is where things are at. Of course, like I said, you all have confidentiality rules. We have confidentiality rules, so it makes it a little bit difficult, but I'm very open to hearing from community partners and explaining our processes and why something may have happened. I've had people call me and I go looking in our case system, and it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while something has fallen through the cracks, and so it's great for somebody to call and check up on it. Because our families don't always know how to be persistent about something like that. Generally speaking, though, it's probably, unless there's some special information you want to pass along, it's probably best to give them the number and say, hey, call these folks, tell them what you're needing help with, and see what they might be able to do for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you so much, Mr. Napier. This is just truly helpful. I know it's just important to know these resources to help support families who are
Oh,
in
absolutely.
difficult
Yeah,
situations.
absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, as long as they will get something from us, if they qualify financially, they will get some assistance. Even if I spend hours every day just talking with folks, and usually it's helpful just to get information about what they're dealing with and pointed in the right direction. So, okay.
All right, thank you. Very quickly before we end, I always give away a door prize or two. So I'm going to draw names and then I'll send those your way. Laura Livesey and Carissa Lip. So I will send those your way. Thank you again, everybody, and thanks, Mr. Napier. All right, bye.